Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. The world needs to hear your message and your story, so don't deny the world of that gift within you that the universe has given you. Someone out there needs to hear your story because it will support them in feeling hope, inspired, and even transformed. Do you want to discover how I help get my clients out of their own way, show up, and confidently share their message? I would love to extend an invitation to you to join me in my free masterclass, Start Your Own Podcast from Idea to Implementation, on Wednesday, April 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Daniela Dubach. She is a certified financial fiduciary and the owner and founder of the Financial Literacy Institute. Welcome, Daniela. I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. I am so excited to speak to you and share all about the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, your story, your journey. How are you today?
I am doing very well. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for the opportunity to share my story and what I've learned with the audience. So very excited.
Yes, I am very excited too. We've been working on getting this done for quite a while now, so it's nice to finally have you here. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Daniela, how long ago did you found and start the Financial Literacy Institute?
I have been a financial educator for almost 15 years, and I started Financial Literacy Institute about 9 years ago.
What were you doing for a living before making the jump into entrepreneurship, and what was the catalyst for you to make that shift into the entrepreneurial world? So
before getting into anything that has to do with finances, I did all kinds of different things. You don't want to hear my whole life story, but by the way, in case you're wondering where my accent is from, I was born in Germany, raised in Switzerland. And so back in Europe, I had a great job, worked for an airline, got to travel a lot. And then in my late 20s, I decided that I wanted to come to America. And so I moved here to America in the year 2000. And so the first 10 years, I did all kinds of different things. I was in real estate, did some modeling. I did all kinds of things just to survive and find my way out here in America.
And so what inspires you to keep going and excelling at all that you do, Daniela?
It's really the ability to make a difference and to empower others, especially women, with financial knowledge, because my story includes some embarrassing moments about finances, and that I've learned a lot, and I'm just excited and happy to share that with others. And that just really fuels me. That's when I see others being able to make changes in their lives and feeling more empowered with their finances, I just keep going. So it's a passion of mine. Really, I love what I love.
Yeah, I'm sure we all have those moments where we've fucked up with finances and struggled through it. So I'm excited now to jump into this bit of it, all about financial literacy and your inspiration. Why did you decide to focus your energy and business specifically on helping to empower women through financial literacy? And tell us a little bit about your own personal struggles that led to that.
So as I mentioned, I moved here in the year 2000 and I didn't know anything about finances. So I was very ignorant. I didn't even know back then what a 401k is. Well, to my defense, I didn't grow up in America, but still, that's not an excuse. So the first almost 10 years into it, I was really financially struggling. A lot of people do, living paycheck to paycheck, having no savings. And then 2009 happened and I had a big awakening. I lost my home, foreclosure. I had credit card debt. I was in a financially very bad situation. And it just really dawned on me, Daniela, you are a financial disaster. And I had a totally dysfunctional relationship with money. And that's really when I had my awakening and I had to make a decision. Well, is either I go back to Switzerland, and that would have been the end of my American dream, or I would learn or start learning the things about finances, about saving money, about budgeting, about planning for the future, having an emergency fund, and all these basic things that were never taught. Those are things that you would think they should be teaching in schools.
1000%. I have to jump in and say I completely agree. They should be starting the kids learning about all of this stuff from a very young age. Start it in early grade school. Instead, they teach them useless shit that they'll never use in their lives.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. I'm very passionate about that. Okay,
we went far. Well, get this. So I work a lot with educators and help them, plan with their finances. And so anyways, one of my clients, she's a principal, and she asked me, well, Daniela, could you help us put together a curriculum she was an elementary school principal.
Yeah.
And so we put together an outline. Everybody was excited, the teachers, the principal. It was submitted to the district, one of the largest districts in America. And guess what it was? No, it's not important enough. It's not. There's not enough funding for that, and we couldn't believe it.
Ridiculous, absolutely insanity.
And then you wonder why kids, as soon as they get out of college, they get into this rat race of credit card debt, paying your bills, and you just get more and more behind, just because people at a young age are not taught financial just basics or good habits.
For sure, I think it's horrible, absolutely horrible. It needs to shift, and I think that was a brilliant idea. And the fact that she came to you and asked you to help her put something together, and then it gets shot down. Of course, because you know why? Because when you're doing this, if you're teaching this to the kids, that's giving them independence. And they don't want independent thinkers. They want robots. They want sheep.
Yeah. And when you're in fear, because you're in fear about how to pay your bills at the end of the month, it's easier to manipulate people.
Yes, of course. And control them 1,000%. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. What or how have these experiences, these personal experiences, helped shape the Daniela you are today, both personally and professionally?
Well, it's the stories, again, the struggles that I went through. I would say that, some people are more motivated by pleasure and some more by pain. For me, it was the pain factor. So I wanted to get us far away from being in that situation, being totally financial disempowered and struggling and not knowing what's going to happen the next day. I wanted to get as far away from that as I could. So pain was a big motivator for that. And then what happened really along the way is I realized there's a lot of other people, especially women, that were in a similar situation where they felt like disempowered and overwhelmed with all this financial stuff. And then you would say to yourself, oh, I'm going to deal with that later. I'm going to deal with it later. Well, if you don't deal with it today, it will deal with you later, right?
Yeah,
it's like taxes. Exactly. You don't deal with it today, taxes will deal with you later. And so that's how I fell into doing what I'm doing, just in the beginning, individually helping people. And then I fell into this profession of really empowering others with this financial knowledge.
And what would you say was the biggest or most valuable takeaway for you personally from your experiences?
I would say it's first and foremost, it's the awareness and taking responsibility of where you are. Because only then, when you take inventory, and that's sometimes a very humbling process, but when you realize where you are, whether it's in a good place or in a bad place, only then can you make a plan or can you make changes. And so taking responsibility, stopping to blame other people, be that the society, be that your parents, be that whoever should have helped you being where you expected to be. And so, but a lot of people, when it comes to finances, do not take responsibility. Again, you blame everybody else. Oh, it's the government, it's the taxes, it's the president, whoever, whatever.
Why is this mission of helping to empower women to piece the pieces, as you say, of their financial life and future together so personally important to you? Why have you decided to make this your personal mission? Simply
because I know how it feels on that side. I know how it feels when your money is controlling you. You have not a lot of choices. You have not a lot of freedom. Whether we like it or not, but money gives us freedom if you choose the right way.
Yeah, for sure.
And being in that space, the desperation and just no really excitement about the future because you have limited resources, that really was a catalyst for me too. And I just know how it feels. And I know how it feels on this side. I know how it feels on the other side. And I know what the steps are in between to bridge that gap.
What would you say are 3 of the most important lessons you've learned in your career as someone who helps women with financial literacy?
Well, 3 lessons that I've learned. I would say, again, it's important to just kind of take inventory where you are and acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. And don't beat yourself up for it.
Because a lot of people fall into that.
Yeah, and then you start blaming everybody else. Yeah, so take responsibility, and then also go and look for resources. And nowadays, especially with the internet, there's so many resources about that, about finances. Of course, everything on the internet is right. Everything is totally true. And then also, you need to surround yourself with people who have a mindset or a positive mindset about that whole subject. Because a lot of people just talk about or have a scarcity mindset. And it is important when it comes to your finances to have an abundance mindset and surround yourself with people that are like that actually lift you up instead of dragging you down.
3 very important lessons. Thank you for sharing that. Daniela, what lights you up or inspires you the most about the work that you do?
When I see people connecting the dots, when in the beginning they would say to me, all this financial stuff, it's so overwhelming. I just don't get it. I talk to so-and-so, I listen to such, but it's too overwhelming. And then, because one of the things that I do is I really try to simplify things so that people can actually use the information and it can relate to them.
Easy to understand.
Exactly. Right. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. Now, people's relationships with money are very complex. In the work you do, how do you navigate the psychological aspects of your clients' financial behaviors and beliefs? Because as you just said, having that abundant mindset versus a lack mindset is huge. So how do you help with that?
The psychological aspect. So again, there is 2 things. You can have all the knowledge about financial investments, products, how things work. But then also the important thing is, well, what is your mindset about it, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, in this country grow up with a scarcity mindset. That's taught by society, maybe your upbringing and all that. And a lot of people think they're not good enough, for instance, to be successful, to have X amount of money, to have the freedom that they aspire to. And so that's another important aspect. Again, because I went through this whole thing, you can have all the opportunities in front of you, but if your mindset is not in the right place, if you have a dysfunctional relationship with money, you think you're not good enough to, let's say, make $100,000 a year, whatever that goal is, then you're never going to get there. You can have all the opportunities coming or passing by in front of you, but you're not going to seize them, or you get them and then you lose the money. And so the financial mindset, that was really also a very important aspect for me. When I started realizing that I was standing in my own way, I didn't feel I was good enough to be successful or earning a certain amount of money. And once I started working on that, I got myself basically out of the way. Then also all the other things started falling into place. And I think that is one of the aspects that's oftentimes forgotten. It's not just about the technical things to learn about money, but it's also how are you really processing it?
I think that's the most important one, is getting this right, getting out of your own way. How did you start to get out of your own way? How did that process start for you?
I was always in personal development and growth. Early in my days, like the Tony Robbinses of the world, the Jim Rohns of the world, and then all kinds of other mentors that I had. And I was about 15 years ago. Actually, the person that really made the biggest difference with my money mindset was Bob Proctor. And he wrote a few really good books about, again, how you can get yourself out of the way, having all the opportunities.
Thinking into results.
That was one of them. And then he has a book, it's called You Are Born Rich. It's not any new information, but it just kind of puts it, it's like the Rubik's Cube. You have all these colors, but it puts it in a way so you can actually get it and understand it and apply it to your own work or your own life. And so that was the biggest catalyst for me that really started shifting my mind about, hey, you know what? I'm good enough to be, do, and have anything that I want.
Yes.
The opportunities didn't change, but my mindset changed. And that made the...
And that's where it starts, right? That's the beginning of it all. That's where we all start. Yes. Financial literacy is very empowering. How do you prioritize financial education in your practice, and what steps can individuals take to enhance their own financial literacy?
Well, again, first of all, let's talk about mindset, having a positive mindset or finding out what is your mindset about money. If you have a scarcity mindset, you will never really make it to where you're destined to be. And then it's also about setting clear goals. A lot of people plan more for their vacation, like upcoming vacation, spend more time planning for that than they plan for their future, financial future. When you think about it, you spend 1 week or 2 weeks somewhere and you're so excited you plan for this. But for instance, retirement planning, it's a 20, 30-year time span and people spend very little time on that. So setting financial goals is really important. And then, of course, continuous learning. I learn every day. And I am excited I'm curious about life. So I'm a lifelong learner. But there's so much to learn. There's only so much time left in this lifetime. But I'm just going to continue in the next lifetime. And also surround yourself with positive influences, people, again, that have the same positive, uplifting mindset. Not people who constantly talk about, oh, I don't know how to pay my bills or ask you for money, because that's the type of energy that you're surrounding yourself with. Well, then that's pretty kind of energy that you get trapped in. And then also you got to practice discipline. And one important thing is also gratitude. Every day I do like my gratitude list. And that is so important, to be grateful for where we are and what we have. Even if it's maybe not what we ultimately want yet, but we don't have that yet. But we are so much better off, especially in this country, than so many people around the world. And sometimes we just don't appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Gratitude is huge, definitely. In your view, Daniela, what does true wealth encompass beyond financial assets, and how do you guide clients in achieving a holistic sense of prosperity?
Well, true wealth, a lot of people think that there should be like a dollar sign, but true wealth is everything. It's our physical health, because without our physical health, wealth and health, we don't even get to experience any money or any financial success. And then there's the spiritual, right? Spiritual wealth is being able to become the best version of yourself and then share that with the world. And then, of course, there is also money, whether we like it or not, but money does give us freedom. Yeah. You know, it was actually interesting. I went to a workshop some months ago, and a friend of mine was doing this. It was also for women. So we did an exercise where there were like about 7 different aspects of life: career, health, social life, relationships, money, and all that. And we had to put this in order. What was the most important thing? Now, most people put money at the very bottom, because you want to be like, I don't want to sound selfish. It's just about money. And then it was my turn, and I shared with the group that money, actually, career was pretty much on the top of mine. I said, look, I flew up to Northern California to be with you during this workshop. And if I wouldn't have money, I wouldn't be able to expand my spiritual wealth. If I wouldn't have money, I would be stressed out. So that impacts my health. So money, whether we like it or not, it impacts a lot of things. And once I was done explaining that, the funny thing is everybody kind of starts shuffling around their cards and move the career and money part more towards the top.
Light bulb moments for people.
Exactly.
Women often face unique financial challenges. How do you tailor your financial coaching and fiduciary services to empower women to achieve financial independence?
It all starts with education, because education, and that's the missing piece really that's out there. And I will say this, in my world, it's mostly male driven. So 80% of financial advisors, educators are men. And men usually have a different way of communicating. And I'm stereotyping here, okay? So forgive me for that.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
But for most men, it's more about, what is my ROI? What's my return of investment? It's about a number. But for women, for us, it's more about having a foundation and understanding. It's more about security. What does that number represent? And so that's where kind of the education starts. And so that's the missing piece in generally when it comes to financial education that's out there. It's more about product. It's more about big numbers. And so the education is first. And then also making things simple, because a lot of these financial things are complicated and overwhelming. So simplifying things down so that we can, or women can, understand it, and men too. So I'm not just talking to women.
Sure. But that is predominantly your audience, though, is women.
Yes. Because I am a woman in a very male-dominated industry. And so a lot of the women that I work with or that I help, they could be single, they could be divorced. And the reality is 50% of women at some point are going to be in that situation. They're going to be either single, widowed, or divorced. And then having to learn at that point about your finances, it's better to be more comfortable before.
Yeah, for sure. Earlier on. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Can you share any specific initiatives or programs you might have in place which are aimed at addressing the gender wealth gap?
I do a lot of workshops for specific audiences. My favorite audiences obviously are women, because it's true. Women, again, this is traditionally, but women have earned less over their working years, because men usually take care of their career, and women, it's more about the home, raising the children. And so they've earned less. And typically also in a traditional household, it's usually the men who take more care of the finances.
Yes.
And so that's where, again, the education comes in first, because women are very smart when it comes to understanding finances once it's broken down and they see the bigger picture. We do a lot of workshops, live workshops. We do a lot of webinars. We do a lot of one-on-one coaching because every situation is different. And we just try to meet the people where they're at. Some people already have a basic understanding. For some people, sometimes I meet with people that just throw up their hands in the air and say, I don't know anything about any of this. I'm hopeless.
Educate me.
Yes, please help me. And actually, I love working with people like this because they're so eager.
That have no base.
Yeah, because they're so eager to learn. And then they're starting to connect the dots. And again, that's where I got a kick out of it. That's where I'm just like, yes, what I'm doing, this is what I'm meant to do.
Now, financial literacy is a global concern. How do you contribute to financial literacy initiatives, and what steps can individuals take to enhance their financial knowledge and decision-making capabilities?
Ooh, you always have these long questions. Why do I have to have you break it down?
I like to make my guests think.
You do. I need a drink after that. Okay, so again, it goes back to the workshops, the information that we put out there, and that's open to everybody. And I would say a lot of these financial principles, they're universal. Yes, when you talk about specific strategies, that may be specific to a state or a country, but a lot of, especially like the mindset things, are very universal concepts which everybody can take advantage of it. Now, of course, also you don't want to just listen to one financial, let's call it guru, because they all to some degree have their own agenda. And I'm not going to name any names. They all certainly have very good information that's out there. But again, it's always important to have like different people, like when you in personal growth and development. You don't just want to listen to Tony Robbins. You want to have other aspects. You want to have other things that kind of influence you in your journey.
For sure.
But definitely, I mean, nowadays, again, with the internet, there's so much information out there with podcasts like yours where there's not a lack of information that you can get. It's more making the time and putting this as a priority.
It's also figuring out which things to follow, which things to listen to, paring down the bullshit from the real stuff and sorting through all that. That's a lot too. That takes a lot of time to figure out what resonates for you.
Exactly. And also the person that you're interacting with, because they have to also fit your personality, your profile.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
With the main focus of your business being geared towards helping to educate women on financial literacy, you are obviously a huge women's empowerment advocate. What do you do to empower yourself and other women aside from the work you do with financial literacy? Well,
personally, just kind of keep my balance, I do meditate. I have a daily routine that's really important that keeps me focused and just keeps me going. So I meditate, I have a daily exercise routine, and I also share that with other people. So we have mastermind groups. Okay. Because there's so many things that I need to learn, and everybody that I interact with has something to share with me that helps me too. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that I think are important. Sharing experiences. I work with people or other women that do similar things that we teamed up with, and they have incredible stories too. Hopefully they can share on your podcast one of these days.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always looking for amazing guests. Daniela, what do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I would say I can take complex things and make them simple.
That's an art. That's an art form.
So that the average person can understand it. Because oftentimes, again, when I meet people and I talk to them for the first time, I met with this financial person and that financial person, and I didn't understand even half of what they were saying. You put it in such simple terms, I get it now. And that's why so many people are financially illiterate or feel disempowered because just things that are out there are too complex.
That's a true gift you have, Daniela. True gift. Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does the word success to mean to you?
Success, a lot of people would say it's, financial success. That's part of it, as we discussed earlier. But I think success is just, first of all, being able to be the person that you are, your authenticity, being who you are and living that person and becoming the best version of yourself. So I'm like, every day I'm striving to become a better person, to learn more. And that translates, if you have that type of mindset, it's more like an abundance mindset that I also equate with success. Yeah. And when you have that type of mindset, well, everything else kind of falls into place because your relationships will be more quote unquote successful, which means more meaningful, more deeper, right? Because you associate with people that are kind of speaking your language. Then your physical, your mental, your spiritual. So it encompasses all these things, and just being in a state of mind where you feel like all of these things just work together. All of these things are okay. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no struggles or anything like that. That's okay, because that makes us grow. And I'm not asking for struggles, but I always know that it's like when I have my biggest breakdowns, I have eventually my biggest breakthroughs. So I look forward to that part. It's all about
Absolutely.
mindset.
We have to, we have to go through the shit to get to the other side to have the success. It's not always going to be rainbows and ice cream and perfection and all of these things. We're going to get stuck in the muck, and that's okay. It's just a matter of being able to, first of all, the mindset, getting okay with that and knowing that, but also being able to take the lesson from that situation and apply it so that you can move forward and do better.
And also success at the end of the day, it's contributing to society. What is the difference that you're making? What is the legacy that you're going to leave behind?
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? What was your life like after learning it?
Yeah, it's the taking responsibility part. And that also requires a certain level of awareness, so that you stop blaming everybody else. And you really like this, you really feel like you're in the driver's seat. And sometimes it's painful, because you kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize, oops, that wasn't the greatest thing I did, or I screwed really up.
I got
a lot of people don't do that, or don't dare do it.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier again to blame everybody else. And I think once I really had that level of awareness, and by the way, I think our level of success or happiness has to do 100% with our level of awareness. And so once I had that level of awareness, I wouldn't say life got easier, but I was much more in control. I didn't feel like, if this happens, then I'm just part of the circumstances, and I can't do anything about it. That was an important lesson for me. That it wasn't like an epiphany overnight. I wish it did.
No, these things take time.
They do.
For sure. The work takes time, and the work never stops. You have to continually keep working on yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a long process, a long journey. There's no destination.
No, but that's the cool thing. If there would be a destination, then okay, and then it's over, and then what's coming next?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I always tell myself, well, I'm going to learn as much as I can in this lifetime, and then when I'm done here, I'm just going to keep going in the next lifetime.
What was a turning point in your life, Daniela, and how did it affect you? What would you say was the biggest turning point for you?
The biggest turning point, it was December 23rd of 2009. So this is when I was this financial disaster. And this is when I got home and I found a foreclosure notice on my place. And literally my world just collapsed. I mean, I felt homeless. I felt like, again, I said earlier, a complete financial disaster. And my dream of being an entrepreneur and being successful here in America just crashed. And I had to really make some important choices. Well, first of all, take a big look in the mirror that I didn't do before. And that really changed the trajectory of my life. It changed how I saw myself, my finances. And the choice was, well, is either I go back to Switzerland and stay there and that would have been the end of my American dream, or making the choices and learning again the things that I should have learned a long time ago. And that's what I ended up doing. And let me tell you, Brad, it was a tough crawl back out of the hole that I had digging myself into. But that now led me to a career or doing what I'm really passionate about. So altogether, it was a blessing in disguise.
See, there you go. You were able to find the silver lining in that. And now you're helping to empower women so that they don't get stuck in similar situations that you were. And I think that's an incredible gift you're giving them.
Yeah. Well, we're all at some point in our lives, we're in a financial bind, but it's more like the powerlessness as to how do I get out of this? Where there's no way out of this. Yeah. And there is. Now, if anybody tells me, oh, no, it's not possible. Well, it is possible. It's hard work. It's not easy. Yeah. And it's very humbling. But like I said earlier, I know how it feels on this side, but I know also how it feels on that side. And I know what are the steps to take. Yeah. Now, if you're willing to take those steps, that's on you.
And do the work.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think stories, like they always say, stories really empower because you can relate to that.
Yes.
You can relate to that.
Absolutely. 100%. That's what it does. It creates that relatability. When you stand up and share your story of struggle, it lets other people know that, hey, I'm not alone. Daniela struggled with similar things, or Daniela went through this and she got through it. So I can get through this too.
Exactly.
I just have to be willing to do the work.
Well, that's
the key. Yes.
That's the key. And a lot of people who,
Absolutely.
like, again, in my industry, a lot of people that are certainly very successful at doing what they're doing, but they never went through the struggles. So it's hard to really emphasize with people who are going through that, where they are in that process.
Yeah, there's no relatability there if they haven't gone through their own shit.
Yeah.
What is one of your biggest failures or life lessons, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, it's going back to that event that happened in 2009, just that financial ignorance and how important finances are and understanding them and making them a priority in your life. Not money, but having your finances under control so that they do not control you. So that starts with having an emergency fund, having a budget, just knowing what's happening with your money in your own personal life. And a lot of people don't. It's like, you kind of look the other way until something happens.
Yeah.
And then you're like a deer in a headlight.
Yes, absolutely. What is one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you first started your entrepreneurial journey?
It's asking for help.
That's a huge one.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes. And a lot of people, it could be pride. It could be, you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to bother other people. Like the way I grew up in Switzerland is we don't want to bother anybody else. We just kind of keep to ourselves. And so that was a big lesson I had to learn, get out of my comfort zone and ask people for help in many different ways. And that's really helped me a lot because we don't have to carry all that burden, whatever that burden is, or uncertainty, whatever it is, by ourselves.
It's hard. There's a lot of shame associated with asking for help.
Or even accepting help.
And that's
even accepting. Sometimes people offer help, but a lot of people, what would they say? No, I'm good. I can do it myself.
They're too proud.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're too proud.
Exactly.
We're not meant to do these things alone. We're meant to do it in community, with help, with support. You can't do it alone.
Exactly.
And it's about accepting the help or asking for it.
Yes.
I think that's a sign of strength.
Yeah. I had to kind of take baby steps with me doing that. Again, somebody would say, oh, you know what? I can pick you up something at Costco. You need anything? I'm good. I can go by myself. So those are the little things that I started catching myself where I said, you know what? Yeah, could you please bring me those 2 items since you're already there?
There you go.
And I had to catch myself, not to just automatically say, no, thanks, I'm good.
But it's also knowing it's okay to offer that to others too. Hey, I'm going here. Do you need anything? It's reciprocal, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes it's easier for me to offer help to others than accept it.
Of course. Yes, receiving is hard. That's a lesson I'm going through learning right now. So it's not easy for sure, especially when you are constantly giving. But you have to learn to receive in order to continue that cycle.
Exactly. Yes.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment, well, there is economic empowerment, which gives you access to, let's say, for instance, financial resources, education, opportunities that can help with independence and advancement and all that. But more importantly, there is the personal empowerment. And that goes back to self-awareness, self-esteem, self-confidence, and just enabling individuals to be in control of their lives, to making the decisions that are best for them, that are not on somebody else's agenda, because they have the underlying information or knowledge to make those decisions. And not just saying, oh yeah, whatever you think is best for me. But it doesn't fly with financial stuff.
No,
but also helps you overcome, your challenges and setting goals and sticking to them.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 2, 3, 4-word answer type thing. Okay. What is one of your favorite quotes?
One that I use a lot is, it's your younger self that's going to take care of your older self. It's not the other way around.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
More time on planet Earth. I'm in my early 50s now, and I feel like I have still so much more to do.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Be kinder to each other and respect all living creatures.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
I am definitely a lifelong learner.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
Kind of goes along with lifelong learner, curiosity. I just want to learn everything that's out there as much as I can.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Self-care practice, meditation, definitely, and a daily exercise routine.
That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Okay.
I threw in a question that I didn't send you.
Uh-oh.
I'm calling it the money question, or I got to think of a better name for it. But anyway, if you could take one feeling or a belief, bottle it, and give it to people, what would it be?
It would be the feeling of abundance and prosperity in all areas of our lives.
Love that answer. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
A question that I get a lot is, why did you leave Switzerland to come to America?
Okay, answer the question.
Oh, well, Switzerland, Europe, it was a great place to grow up. I had a great life, everything, but I always had an entrepreneurial mindset. And over in Europe, people have more like a mindset of security, 8 to 5 job, and so on. And so I guess I'm not the typical Swiss. And I'm more like, yeah. And so that's why I came to America. Because America is the land of opportunities. You can be, to have anything, anybody that you want to be. And I was in my late 20s and I believed all that. And that's how I moved here. I didn't really know anybody. I just said, hey, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Never thought I was going to end up in finances. Never in my life. That was the last thing I thought. But
Isn't that usually the way it works?
I know. But I'm so glad I had this unfiltered mindset back then. Yeah, let's just go to America. Because if I would have stayed in Europe or Switzerland, my life would have been very different than what it has been here the last 20-some years.
What is your why, Daniela?
It's really, they might sound cliche, but it's really making a difference. It's making a difference and empowering others with my story, with the knowledge that I have. And that just keeps me going.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Well, the first woman that came to mind was Oprah, but I think everybody probably says that.
A lot, yes.
So I'm like, no, I mean, of course, she's an amazing individual. But another person I've always been impressed by is Eddie Lamar. And a lot of people actually don't know her, but she's an Austrian-American actress and inventor. And she was actually the person, and this was like in the early 1900s, she actually invented the basis of today what's used for Wi-Fi and all that. And she was an inventor, again, in a very male-driven environment. And so what just always impressed me with her, it was her creativity, her intelligence, and her perseverance. Because those are kind of things that I cherish as well. But if you've ever...
I've had one other person say say her name.
Yeah,
yep.
So she has an amazing story. I think there's even a documentary or even a movie about her. I encourage everybody to watch it. She was something else. She was way ahead of her time 100-some years ago.
Trailblazer.
Yeah, definitely.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
It would be patient in the process. Oftentimes we overestimate what we can do in a short period of time, but we underestimate what we can do over a longer period of time. And this is, I guess it's a little part of the instant gratification society. We think we do something and things need to happen. Like a tree needs to grow overnight. It will grow, but it takes a little longer and a lot more TLC and all that. So yeah, I think it's patience.
That's a hard
one.
one.
And especially when you're an entrepreneur, for those starting out, you want to see results right away because that's your life.
But it doesn't work that way. Usually, we'll say usually, it doesn't work that way. There are cases, of course, where it does happen, but for the most part, I think that's probably one of the most necessary and important skill sets to have as an entrepreneur is patience.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to build your brand, to build your business, and to get to where you want to get to. And I'm sure we all struggle with it. I know I did. That's for damn sure. It's a tough road, but if you have the patience and the perseverance, it'll get there. You'll get there.
Eventually it will. When I think back, when I had these big dreams of coming to America, and they were big in the beginning, but now when I look back, I've gotten so much further, which I would have never in my life thought that I was in a place where I am mentally, emotionally, financially, and all that.
Well, I mean, moving to America from a completely different country on your own, didn't really know anyone, that's fucking huge. That is a huge goal that you accomplished, and you should be very proud of that.
Thank you. Well, I give some credit to Tony Robbins. He just said, you can do, be, and have anything, so just do it. I'm like, okay, let's just do it.
All right, let's go.
Now, would I do the same thing now that I'm in my 50s? Probably not. Glad that I was crazy in my late 20s. And I took the leap to do that. And I remember my mom and my grandmother that took me to the airport with my 2 big duffel bags, right? And I could see it in their eyes. They were looking at me and saying, yeah, she'll be back in a few months. Things just kind of fell into place. Again, if you have a positive mindset, you believe in something, doors will open that you never even thought are going to be there, or at least a window.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And good for you for doing it and having the perseverance and the patience.
That was a hard one.
lastly, Daniela, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
I would say, and this sounds like a tombstone thing, but I would say that we live in a universe of cause and effect. And really every action, no matter how small or how big, has the potential to make a difference. Every smile that we put out there, every not so kind word that we put out there will impact something, somewhere, somebody, somehow. So let's just strive to be the best version of ourselves and put the best out there to just empower and lift each other up.
Beautifully said, and a beautiful way to end the interview. Thank you so much, Daniela, for being here with me today, for taking and making the time to share a bit about your personal journey and story and your wisdom and knowledge around finance. It has been an absolute pleasure. I've loved every minute of the conversation. It's been very educational and inspirational. So thank you for shining your bright, beautiful light out into the world through the work you do. And I appreciate you. I'm grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope that we just keep all going on our journey. You with your podcast, you're making a huge difference out there too. So very grateful.
Thank you. I received that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Once again, my name is Brad Welsh, host of your Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest has been Daniela Dubach. She is a certified financial fiduciary and the owner and founder of the Financial Literacy Institute. Thank you so much, Daniela. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Same to you. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.